Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live, talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynn@pghcitypaper.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Hey, and good morning to you. Welcome to another edition of the Quarantine Cullen Live. And forgive my voice. I know I don't sound too good. It's April 13th. And it's a rainy, overcast Monday, the day after an Easter Sunday, unlike any other. And I have to tell you, I'm feeling, even though I don't sound great, I'm feeling simply wonderful this morning because I really felt sick all weekend, and feeling sick this time is terrifying. I mean, you just assume you're going to die or, whatever. And I do feel so much better today. But the question remains, how do you get sick?
Welcome.
Can't. Thank you very much. How do you get sick when you're at home by yourself,
Zero.
Efforts and distancing. So I have a feeling that something got me, some kind of a bug. But how did a bug get me? If I don't understand any of it. So it was scary, and I still don't quite know what's going on. It feels somewhat like a cold, but not quite. And when last time I was breathing, and I did a telemedicine visit with my asthma doctor, and man, he threw so many drugs at me, it was ridiculous. And so I spent most of the weekend really doing heavy-duty nebulizer treatments. I have a machine myself. And also other drugs I had. And eventually my lungs seemed to clear, but then this sore throat came on. And then I became just enervated. My eyes burned. I could hardly move. I thought, oh, my God. But the thing that never happened is I never got a fever. So I thought fever, I think, is like the number one-ish kind of thing. And I didn't feel that horrible. So I don't know. Anyway, after the show today, I'm going to call my regular doctor and just see if this asked or not. I don't know. If we lived in a better functioning country, I mean, I would have gone and gotten a test, right? No problem. But that's not the case. So anyway, I do feel so much better this morning. I can't believe it. So I'm feeling chipper, even though I'm not sure I sound it yet. So let me see what I got going here. A lot, of course, has happened. I decided, unlike my previous efforts last week, I am going to start with some good news or uplifting news and things that I managed to come across in the last 3 days. One of the things that just blew my mind was a picture of Los Angeles from the air. I mean, it was a long panoramic shot. I have always thought L.A. is, frankly, an ugly city. The post for current info. It's pleasing to the eye. L.A. always looked to me like, a tangle of freeway. Downtown didn't seem like a very downtown, whatever. This picture of L.A., it looked like a jewel. And one of the things was there was this blue, azure blue sky, unheard of. unseen in my life. Of course, it was because that tangle of freeways was empty. And so I then saw a picture of New Delhi and other cities, and they look glorious, unlike anything you've seen before. And you see, the bad news is you see the impact that our lives have on the environment. You see, because absence our cars, there is this glorious sky. And in fact, less deadly sky. So it's quite clear that we can see for the first time, really, the negative impact that we have with our cars. And of course, we'll go right back to it the minute we can, smogging up LA, throwing crap into the air, when if we were better than that, we would in fact see this as an opportunity for change. So one thing that I saw that just blew me away, outdoor air pollution. I just have to do an actual fact here. Outdoor air pollution, most of it caused, yes, I don't know most of it, but tailpipe emissions, huge, is estimated to have caused over 4 million premature deaths just in 1 year. Now that's worldwide. 4 million. So looking at those pictures tells us where a future could be if we say goodbye to gas-driven vehicles. Hang on. I think I have a caller, but hang on, please. This just came out. And this is from the county. County Executive Rich Fitzgerald today called for an expansion of the state's emergency declaration to allow Allegheny County to send a ballot to every registered voter in Allegheny County so that the June 2nd primary election may be conducted solely by mail. Whoa! Way to go, Rich. Way to go. Here's a quote from him. Holding an in-person election in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic in and of itself a disaster. We're not going to have enough staff to work the election, and asking elected and appointed poll workers to work flies in the face of what we've been asking everyone in this county to do since mid-March. Voting is the cornerstone of our democracy, but in-person voting would jeopardize this community and potentially distance voters who would be to come to the polls. So there you have it. I think that's fantastic news. Let me just clarify that I have a caller here. Oh, I'm being told the phone quality isn't great today. I'm breaking up. Am I? You sure it isn't just my voice? So it wasn't that I have a phone call, it's that the quality of the audio is not great today. Well, that's a first. We were riding so high. Are any of the rest of you having difficulty? I'm getting this from Amy, my producer, and we're brought to you by virtue of her, whatever her hookup is, does have. So I don't know what the issue is, but that might. Oh, please. Well, I'm not getting anything from anybody here, so I don't know. Okay. So what else we got? I'll keep going till somebody tells me to cease and desist. Amy says we'll keep going. I mean, I'm asking anyone who's listening to tell me if I should keep going. I also, it just occurred to me, and I don't have anything before me, but boy, I'm sorry, I sound like hell to start with, and then couple that with maybe a not great connection. So the fact that I'm not hearing from anybody makes me nervous. The phone number is, what is the phone number?
That's the earliest point.
Something. 412-200-5686 or Lynn at pghcitypaper.com. If you just let me know if you're hearing me. The fact that nobody's saying anything suggests that nobody is hearing me. I'm talking to Amy.
Recorded for quality purposes.
Well, here goes my good mood. So I don't know. I don't know if I should just keep going. We have a caller. Okay, let's see how this out. Caller, go ahead, please.
Lynn, it's Dave from Washington. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, but could you hear me?
I hear you fine.
Before you called, you were hearing me okay?
I heard you both online and while I was on hold. I was only on hold for maybe 5 seconds, and you picked up, and that was no problem. And you sound fine. Now, I don't know if it's my browser or something on your end, but every now and then some little electronic voice kind of interjects and for just a second or two.
Huh.
Are you running some program or something on your computer that talks to you?
No.
Okay, then maybe I got some different things going on mine. So maybe that's my computer talking. I don't know. Anyway, you sound fine.
Well, how come nobody else told me that? Usually if I ask, are you hearing me? I get, a flurry of emails from people.
Well, I was going to do that, but I figured I'd just call you and see if it worked or not.
Okay.
No, you sound fine. Even like I said, you call and you get a little voice. Please hold and listen to the show while you're on hold. You will hear a beep, and then that beep, and then I could hear you. You got me. So it seems to be working fine.
Well, that's great. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Have a good day.
You too. Amy's saying it might be a Skype bleed through. And I have more callers, and oh my God. Well, so you were telling me you could hear me. Friggin' email that it took till about 5,000 emails just came in. Thank you, Dana, Rita, Debbie, Bill, Milton, Paul, Barbara, Margaret, William, Ed, Art, Gigi, God bless you.
This can be your white.
Art, Diana. Thank you. So we're good to go. That's good. Good to know. And we have a couple more callers. Are they just calling to say they can hear me, or do they have something to say? Caller, do you have anything you want to say? Hello?
Lynn.
Yeah.
I can hear you. Everybody's hearing you.
All right. Well,
you're the director. But everybody else is hearing you.
Great. Thank you.
And what about all that jet fuel that isn't being dumped into the atmosphere? What about
There
that?
you go. There you go. Think of all of that. It's amazing. I mean, somebody should put together this panoramic picture of the globe right now. It's glorious.
I know.
You see,
it'll be clean. Nice and clean for a while anyway.
I mean, if we would just all stay home and stop messing with Mother Nature. Look at how glorious she can be. God.
Okay,
Thank you.
that's all I want to tell you.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, thanks. Bye. Bye.
Bye. Love you all. Is there another caller? I mean, if that's all, we can cease and desist with this.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi,
Huh?
Hey, I could hear you loud and clear. And,
Okay.
I bet right now people are wishing Obama was in there right now, because could you imagine how much better this would be all the way around? And I just want to say about this mask and goggles wearing. I have to wear 8 hours a day, so to me it's not no big deal. As far as being isolated, I don't even care about that. I do that. I don't have a car. My wife takes hers to work, but now she's at home. But it doesn't bother me at all, this isolation. I just can't get worked up over.
Wow.
My life. But,
Well, see, you're
your provider.
Yeah.
Thank you, and thank you for calling. Bye. Bye.
Okay. Bye.
I am though sorry about my God. Okay, I just want to make sure that none of these emails are other than okay. Everything's okay. Cool. Then I'm going to keep going, and that's assuming I don't have any more calls. Amy, that's it. No. One of the things that besides the fact that we see what our world would look like if we would stop following our own nests, another thing is I don't know about you, but I suspect you're having the same in that there are now about no more than 4 items of clothing that I wear. I mean, obviously, they're all, pretty comfortable, but they're both things. They're comfortable. They're not necessarily ugly. I'm acceptable looking, I guess. And I have closets. And I run out and buy more and more, although I have to admit at my age I have sort of stopped that. But you also, what we see is that all this stuff we don't need. And maybe some of that will hold over once we're out of our
Say help or press star.
I would hope so, but human nature, being what it is, I highly doubt it.
Listen. Either the ARP map.
Hang on. Okay, Milton is saying not enough to ditch the show, but the Skype bleed through is noticeable. I'm sorry, my voice. Sounds like the voice prompt for callers calling into the show. We hear an electronic voice for about 1 second every 2 to 3 minutes. Ugh. I'm sorry. Well, I'm sure Amy will. Okay, and Ed can't hear me at all, but I think that's his problem. And yeah, Tom says the quality of the sound goes in and out. For the most part, it's okay. So not a great day. There is this bleed. Skype bleed through. Not that I even comprehend what any of that is. But human nature being what it is, I'm sure that we'll go right on back to all of our negative activities. Because as we know, our number one job is to be little economic animals and get the economy moving. So the world's health, our health, the environment's health be damned. But the human nature aspect I was thinking of was when I, it'd be about 35 years ago, I had surgery because I had a foot that simply was collapsing, and it had to be nailed together. And it was a heavy-duty surgery, and I was in a cast for months, and I was in a wheelchair for a while, and then I was on crutches for a long time, and it was an incredible pain in the neck. And I remember once I still managed to go to work at WTAE TV, and I remember once I was in the wheelchair and waiting for the elevator, which I never took because I just take the stairs. It's like a 3-story building. And I saw someone, as in a TV station, running up the stairs with a, this just in kind of look on her face, running up the stairs. And I looked at her and I thought, oh my God, you don't even realize how wondrous it is that you can do that. You're just running up those stairs and not for a minute appreciating the fact that you can run up those stairs. And I vowed to myself that when I got out of the wheelchair and I could walk again and maybe even run, that I would never take for granted that ability. Guess how long that lasted. So
For me,
appreciation that we now have for our negative impact on the world, and that if we would just continue some of the things that we're doing now that have resulted in blue skies, that it would be better. But I suspect that's not going to happen, that we're just going to continue doing what we used to do, which is way too... Go ahead. Hello?
Hey, Lynn, it's Mike in D.C.
Hi, Mike.
So I think it's too late to go back. I think because so many people are successfully working at home, that corporations, the almighty dollar, big business is going to say, wait a second, why are we paying all this office space and parking and taxes on all of that when we can just have these people do this work at home? I think it's going to happen. I know a cousin of mine works for a major corporation, and they were resistant about letting her telework because it's based in but all the way to Ohio 3 times a week because they didn't believe in telework. Well, guess what? Now they're believing in telework. Population goes off of the road. Think of the benefits to the ecosystem then.
Wow.
So I think that corporations are going to say, look at the cost-benefit analysis of this and say, yeah, there's no reason we all need to be in the same place. And then that's not even counting the people who will only take jobs that are... This job that I have is because it's always telework. Mm-hmm. And there's another benefit too. I live in an expensive place to get employees. My company can hire someone, and has, from Oklahoma.
Sure. I'm
sure at a much lower salary rate than I get, and save money on that end.
Huh.
So I think it's too late to go back. Same with grocery shopping. Same with a lot of things we're learning. Like, oh, you mean I don't have to push a cart up and down an aisle? Oh, I can pull into the parking lot and they'll put it in my trunk. You know, I think a lot of this is going to change. I bet.
You know, though, but if in fact, telemarketing to best employee and they can live halfway around the world, won't that do, that globalization aspect of that, won't that do what it's done to so many blue-collar workers and some white-collar workers, which is depress wages?
Maybe, but it will help the environment if more of us are working from home.
Okay. Well, I hope you're right. Clear, no pun intended, as day, what we have, the negative impact we've obviously had when you see those pictures of cities. I mean, New Delhi, I don't know if you've seen this picture, it's beyond belief. So
say you're the president of a sales company and you have 400 salesmen all over the world, and once a year you send them to Akron for your sales conference. Mm-hmm. Well, you couldn't do it in May, so you did it on Skype or Zoom. And guess what? It still worked. As a president of that company, you're going to say, should we spend $2.3 million to bring them all here or do it on Zoom for free? Mm. And think of all the gas that saves. Think of all the emissions from airplanes. If we really are a capitalist culture, which we are, at some point someone's going to say, I save money if I don't touch you don't travel to me, so don't travel to me.
Well, I hope you're right. I mean, there's negatives to it too. I mean, lack of camaraderie, of human contact, but I don't know.
We will adapt. We're a human species. We will adapt.
Okay. All right, Mike. Thank you.
Hope you feel better.
I do too. Thank you. Bye. I do feel better. So I actually have some facts here. Traffic levels have dropped more than 90% in some major cities. Whoa. 50% nearly everywhere. So from 50 to 90%. And no wonder, blue sky, right? Now, one of the things that has happened as a result of no cars on the road is some idiots are getting...
Do you need a total benefit?
And
hello?
And going gangbusters down these empty roadways. I have actually heard the noise of speeding down roadways near me because they can, because there's no cars in front of them, and bam.
Oh.
That on April, what was the day? It was a few Saturdays ago. A white Audi with Pennsylvania plates left a Midtown Manhattan parking garage and took off, heading west. Less than 27 hours later, get this, less than 20 Audi with the Pennsylvania plates pulled into Redondo Beach, California. Less than 27 hours after leaving the garage in Manhattan, it was on the beach. That's a record. There is a record from driving from New York to L.A. It's called the Cannonball Run. You might have thought it was just a movie, but the movie was based on the reality of these people who are called cannonballers, who've been doing this since the 1970s it's an illicit, obviously illegal form of racing. And
Hello?
two, you start from Red Ball Garage on East 31st Street in Manhattan, and you end up at the Portofino Hotel in Redondo. Not been identified because, well, they're not doing.
Hello?
So let me see. There's also this information. I'm looking for something. There's information that police are saying that they fire because there aren't cars on the road. We are seeing, though, one car accidents, and it's because the people who are out there and speeding are losing control of. A trooper in Oregon said he flagged a car last week going 139 miles per hour. And two motorcycles were racing and were caught doing 132. Just saying. So the Cannonball Run, who knew? New record's been set. And the reality is that now that that's been published, you can darn well bet you other people are going to try it. But the real cannonballers apparently are already arguing that that's not a true, it should not be allowed to break the record because, or at least an asterisk has to be after it, the time, because it was not under normal conditions. Okay, hang on here. Barbara has sent me a picture, which I cannot access for some reason. I'm sorry. David writes, starting in late 1995, who was laid up for almost a year and a half, oh God, with a shattered leg. 2 surgeries, one of the rods and all of that, wheelchair, crutches. It got to the point where I was so good I could climb a tree with my crutches. Hey, wait, I gotta interrupt with that because I got so good on my crutches, and I have this one very vivid memory. I was off my leg, and I was speeding on my crutches through my little galley kitchen in my house on Walnut Street. And I don't know what happened, but my crutch slipped somehow, and up in the air I went and crashed down on my kitchen floor. And I had my cat at the time, Smudge Lemieux, who was named by you guys. Smudge Lemieux came over and checked me out, walked up to me, and I was lying there face down. And I remember saying to Smudge, if she were here, she would say yes, she did. Smudge, I think I broke my leg. And guess what? My leg was already in a cast up to the knee because 110, and I managed to break the leg. It wasn't obviously not a break like what David's talking about here. It was in a cast, but it was a lie, went in for x-rays, and yeah. So just saying, don't, to quote Star, it's crutches for a while, and you think you can, as David said, climb trees. Anyway, back to his email. He says, anyway, all I wanted for those 18 months was to get up off the couch, walk across the room, and turn on the light switch without making a huge deal out of it. That was my goal and my philosophy for a long time. I forgot about that and have only recently reminded myself of how
Hello.
irrelevant the supposedly important things are. Sometimes we need to be reminded. Well, that's true, and this enforced incarceration that we're all living has had that effect, yes, right? But I wonder if it's hard to hang on to once you're freed again. Dave says, I still have that thing they put on my leg, and it still has a chunk of meat on one of the screws. God. Yeah. Yeah, Barbara sent this, and I did see that. One of the sailors aboard the USS Theodore Roosevelt has died of COVID, and almost 600 sailors. Okay. I can't tell if I have a caller. I don't think I do, right? Okay. What else do I have here? Oh, this was an amazing story that I got from today's Wall Street Journal. Milton says our sound seems to be getting worse. For about 3 to 4 seconds of every minute, and there seems to be a caller on hold that we can periodically hear them say hello in a female voice. Oh, wonderful. Well, I don't know. Am I supposed to keep going or not? Is relative torture, I suppose, to listen to. Hang on. Okay, there is no caller on hold, says Amy. So we got troubles. I wonder what the hell it is. So it probably is just something with what? Amy's connection or something for the first time is letting us down. Anyway, to abandon ship. We've only got 20 minutes left anyway. Wall Street Journal today, and there's a picture of 3 medical staff. It turns out they're all doctors, all women. They're all wearing masks and all the gear, and they all have their hands cupped under their stomachs, and pregnant. They are all ER physicians. Michelle Callahan, Elizabeth Claiborne, and 2 is the American diversity we see, because they are white, black, and they are all married. They all have children, little kids at home, and they are all pregnant. And they are still working.
So like this.
In an emergency room at a University of Maryland Medical System facility, Prince George's Hospital Center. How amazing is that? And the center, the hospital, has said that any any worker
I don't know. It's like,
does not have to work. But they all say, these doctors,
well,
that although they were given the option of taking, by the way, an unpaid, it's America after all, an unpaid leave of absence, they all chose not to. They are all still working because, as Dr. Claiborne says, all of us leaving at the same time would put a fairly significant strain on our staffing. So they are now all juggling their pregnancies and their time so that they
this is where the
out, and they're trying not to have, not to do intubations and stuff, although it has happened that they have had to. They've all patients that have tested positive. And as I said, they all have small children, spouses at home who they also have to protect. Imagine. The word hero, I have said for years and years, is bandied about way too, every time and taught to call them a hero. That's bullshit. Excuse me. Bullshit. Because we have, they might be heroes, and then again, they might be like that Navy SEAL that, stabbed to death a kid in Iraq. So, wearing a uniform doesn't make you a hero. It makes you a member of a volunteer military. That's what it does. So the word hero gets devalued. I'm looking at 3 women cupping their stomachs and wearing masks, and I am looking at heroes, without a doubt. Dr. Nguyen says there's some level of sense of duty. Sounds like a soldier, right? There's some level of sense of duty to want to help your colleagues out during this pandemic. To do it anymore. That's the kind of ethos that we all too often say is, well, that's the military. The military ethos. Bill says it is getting worse, but it's still worth listening to. Well, I guess that's an individual. That's an individual decision. I am so sorry. As Margaret says, just so I don't get too big ahead, we have nothing else to do. Do you believe that Trump is is refusing to come to the aid of the United States Postal Service? Do you believe that? Of course you do. He will bail out cruise lines who corporately and in every other way are registered outside of the United States so that they don't have to pay into the common kitty. They don't have to pay taxes. But we who do pay taxes are going to what? Bail them out? But we won't bail out the United States Postal Service? Are you kidding me? Now, why would Trump want the U.S. Postal Service to die because of this pandemic? Doesn't take too long to get from point A to point B with that one, right? Because we're the presidential election by U.S. Post. And he and most Republicans fear that if we hold an election by mail, they can't win. So there's lots of ways to get around that, and one of them is let the post. Well, my understanding is that the Postal Service is somewhere mandated in the Constitution of the United States, so I don't think we can. Also, without the U.S. Postal Service, rural areas, small towns, places far afield would never, ever, ever get any deliveries of any kind that didn't.
You want to say changes?
And a leg. The U.S. Postal Service, people are always saying, well, it's not run very well, it doesn't work with profit. It's not supposed to have a profit. It's a public effing.
Sure.
These lunatic capitalists don't understand. It's for the common good. It's so somebody woe-begone Wyoming can get a birthday greeting and it'll cost the same 50 cents.
Okay.
Neighbor down the street. Try that with UPS or FedEx or DHL or any of the others, money-making ones. This is a big issue and you do have the time, if you
put it over.
This is an issue of utmost importance. We must save the U.S. Postal Service. If Trump uses this to destroy the Postal Service, I mean, he's using it to destroy almost every institution in the land, but we...
It hasn't...
hurting. You could go online right now and order some stamps and help them out. That's how they're able to function, because we use them. As far as I know, they don't get federal dollars. We don't support them except by using the U.S. Postal Service. One carrier who had something like 100-some followers on Twitter posted on Twitter this weekend about his job and the Postal Service. And it was the most moving thing I have ever seen. And of course, I can't find it. But it was a long thread in which he made the argument for the Postal Service. And it's not a difficult argument to make, as it turns out. But we need to reacquaint ourselves with the Postal Service. Okay. Another thing that I found that I wanted to share with you, because it's, I thought it was wonderful. It's mostly the words of a man named Jerry Saltz, Saltz. He's an author. He wrote a book called How to Be an Artist. And he is an art critic and quite willingly calls himself a failed artist, thus, giving what's that old saw? Those who can't
merge. So like, I tend to merge.
It's sort of the same. Those who can do, those who can't criticize. He, however, is a hell of a critic because he Jerry Saltz. And in an interview, he had some words of wisdom for all of us, cooped up with all of this nervous energy and not knowing what to do with it. And I'm just going to read some of what he says. I personally don't have an artistic bone in my body, and I'm talking about like drawing.
They just last week's worth of days.
The reality is art takes all kinds of forms, right? It can be writing, it can be music, it can be who knows what. He says, creativity is in every bone, in every person's body. It was there for us when we lived in the caves. And isolation favors art, which is an intimate practice. Right now, people are working over long periods of time at the kitchen table with their kids drawing or wreaking havoc nearby. Art has always been made under these circumstances. In many ways, this is closer to 1,000 years than it has been for a long time. And as far as materials go, you don't need any fancy supplies. Use noodles. Use paper, cardboard, plastic, pencils. Your iPhone can do 100. And never, ever think about creating something good. Good, he says, is boring. 95% of what I write is crapola. That might be worth putting into the world. You have to open up and run toward that kind of radical vulnerability. And then he says this, nothing will happen if you're not working. Work is absolutely the only thing that will take away the foulness, the curse that comes from not working. And once you begin, you will go to a place so strange, so filled with possibility. You've already allow yourself to get lost there. Just follow whatever idiot thread you get on. I do, he says. Art tells you something you didn't need to know until you know it. It reminds me of one of my favorite lines that I read when I was a bewildered and lost, maybe. And it was just a scrap from a poem. I think the poet was Theodore Roethke. And it said, I must learn by going where I have to go. And I clung to that because, like the other day when I talked about always seeing myself as a leaf on a stream, just being carried, that's the same feel I've always had in my life. I don't know where I'm going, but I will learn where by. So the same is true of writing, of, just jump in and be vulnerable, and self-consciousness. You're son, I know, but I love this guy saying that. Art tells you something you didn't need to know until you know it. Whose lines gave me such comfort, I must learn by going where I have to go. Jumped off a bridge in Minnesota. So that's where he was going. Anyway, on a happier note, back to Jerry Saltz here, the Pulitzer Prize winner, says, art has been with us from the beginning. It has never not been there, and it will be there on the other side of all this. So, keep going. What else do I have here? Hang on. Oh, you know what's making a comeback? Of course. Telephone calls. Anybody anymore? I had just really 2 friends that did, and they happened to live together. They would call. They still call, and I sometimes get annoyed. Don't you know, nobody called. Text me. But now, people are calling. Because why text when you can hear the person's finger that appreciating something that we gave away. And now yearn for that human contact. So next time you're thinking of texting, maybe call. Or, as I still do, text and ask, is it to call? Because that would be really good. As you heard at the beginning of the show, perhaps, the county executive here in Allegheny County has, I guess, had to ask the governor. I guess he can't do it by himself. He wants to have the primary election here in Allegheny County be held by ballot. I mean, by mail, by the U.S. Service. And he is not alone. Virginia's governor announced yesterday that he is going to establish Election Day in Virginia as a holiday. All the states should do that. A holiday. He's also going to expand early voting to be allowed 45 days before the election without any use or reason. He also is removing voter ID prior to casting a ballot. And several a civic holiday, including Delaware, Hawaii, Kentucky, and New York. Would take care of all of this, but one cannot expect that with the Republicans in control. Virginia, who would say, well, you can't have another holiday. We already have too many holidays. No, what he did is got rid of one. He repealed, this is the governor of Virginia, he repealed a holiday that has been a holiday in Virginia since God knows when, It's a holiday we don't have here. It's called, get this, Lee Jackson Day. Do you believe it? That was still a holiday in Virginia. That honors, of course, two traitors, Robert E. Lee and Thomas Stonewall Jackson.
Is basically
so Governor Northrop, I think his name is, or Northrum, said, here's what I'm doing. I'm getting rid of Lee Jackson Day, and I'm replacing it with Election Day. Good for him. By the way, recall, this is the governor, this is the Democratic governor, remember, who got in serious trouble when he, pictures of him in college, I think, in blackface came to the fore. And there were calls for him to resign. He did not. And right now I'm thinking, good. I'm glad he didn't, because that is good. But we made it through the show. My voice sort of did. We sort of did. And I'm sorry about the audio quality. I hope it'll be better. We also didn't get into some of the ugly talk that we could, having to do with what our repulsive, increasingly repulsive president has been doing over the weekend. But I got to call my doctor, and I will talk to you tomorrow.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper or its advertisers.